industrial accidents,
ancient
solving
poisoners,
crime,
poison
chemical
prevention.
spills. This is Toxic History.
Dr. Charlotte Means is the Director of Toxicology at the ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center, where she leads the toxicology team that helps veterinarians and pet owners navigate real-world poisoning cases every day, translating complex science into practical guidelines that saves animals' lives. Please welcome Dr. Charlotte Means.
So imagine a warm summer's evening, soft breeze blowing. You're suddenly finally getting to go home after a really hectic workday. By the time you arrive home, dusk is well underway. There's stars starting to pop out. You just want to relax. You pour a glass of iced tea, go out to sit on your patio, wave at some neighbors strolling by. You can hear a nighthawk calling, and then suddenly your shoulders, just as your shoulders are starting to relax, you hear, "Mom, Freddie's hungry. Where are the crickets?" Oh yeah, you were supposed to stop on the way home, but you forgot. So Freddie is a bearded dragon, and he is your son's pride and joy. What are you going to do? Yes, he's hungry. About that time, a firefly lands on your chair. A light bulb goes off. Inspiration strikes. Every 5-year-old child in America is able to catch fireflies. That should tide Freddie over till tomorrow when you can actually bring crickets home, right? And either maybe you didn't know, or maybe you just forgot that feeding wild-caught insects is never a good idea. They're potentially carrying parasites or diseases, or have eaten toxic plants, or even are toxic themselves. But in the meantime, your son catches a few fireflies, and you both enjoy watching Freddie stalk those fireflies and eat them. He appears to have enjoyed his dinner. You go back to relaxing, and then an hour later, you hear, "Mom, Freddie's really sick. What's wrong with him?" And he is not feeling well at all. Freddie's head shaking, he's oral gaping, and he's regurgitated. He seems dyspneic. His back is changing from a tan color to black, and his front legs are even turning a little bit yellow. You load up Freddie and head for the nearest emergency clinic. And we'll pause in Freddie's story to talk about our main characters. The first is a bearded dragon. These are native to Australia. They are from the central part of Australia, which is very arid, very dry, and there are no native fireflies in that part of Australia. There are fireflies on the coastal areas, but not in the center. Bearded dragons are an excellent beginning reptile. They're easy to handle, they socialize well, they're easy to keep. They breed readily in captivity, so you can get a captive bred animal and find reputable breeders just about everywhere to get one from. They live for about 10 to 15 years. And they do have an average weight of about 280 to 500 plus grams. Their beard is used as a defense mechanism to deter predators, and it will turn black during courtship. The rest of the color changes on the body is an indication of stress. So when you start to see the whole body turning black, it's not a good thing, and that is not a happy bearded dragon. These are indiscriminate feeders. They will eat anything. They're omnivorous, and pets are usually fed fresh greens as well as insects. And they are essentially miniature scaly Labrador retrievers. There's some laboratory tests. They actually fed bearded dragons some quinone spraying cockroaches, pyrrolizidine-laden moss, and even bombardier beetles. If you don't know what a bombardier beetle is, basically they can spray literally boiling at 212 degrees Fahrenheit liquid to deter predators. Did not stop the bearded dragon from eating them. They kind of went, not great, but hey, it's still food. And so eating a firefly that may or may not be tasty, no problem for them. And you can see from the bearded dragon in this picture, they have a laser focus on their prey. They cannot wait to eat. And then we have fireflies, which are Photinus species. They're also known as lightning bugs. They are aposematic. The light is meant to be a warning for predators to not eat them. This is also something that native lizards, birds, toads, frogs will learn. And so they eat a firefly. It tastes absolutely horrid. And then they go, I'm not eating that again. And so the good of the many fireflies outweighed the fate of the one that was actually eaten on that. And the rest of the fireflies remain safe. There are no native fireflies for bearded dragons to have ever evolved the fact that they should not be eating something that glows. Fireflies also use the light to attract mates. And some firefly species do not actually have a toxin within them, but they predate on the Photina species that do and actually sequester the toxin and become toxic themselves. This is a steroidal pyrone, and it is related to the bufadinolides from toads and cardinalides in plants like kalanchoes. And the taste immediately is what deters these from various predators on there. And if you're into chemical structures, I've got them over here on the side. The way they use to produce a light is they have these cells in their abdomen called photocytes. And there are two chemicals, luciferin and luciferase, that are found in these cells. A firefly has the potential to pull oxygen into the cells. The luciferin and the luciferate will combine with magnesium and ATP and become a high energy compound. The excess energy is given off in light and it's called bioluminescence. A firefly can control the amount of oxygen in the photocytes, and it can cause flashing. The flashings can vary in color and also in the type of flashing. And the different species will have the variations in the colors and the flashings. And there are some that will even coordinate, and there are parts of the country that people will actually go vacation at just so they can watch the firefly shows in the evenings. Some studies were done with lucibufagan, and they gave 0.06 milligrams per kilogram IV, and that induced ventricular tachyarrhythmia in dogs. Okay, and so fireflies average about 90 micrograms of lucibufagan per firefly. So we made the assumption that if a firefly is 90 micrograms, your average weight of a bearded dragon of, say, 100 grams, and they are as sensitive as a dog, less than one half firefly would have the potential to be lethal to a bearded dragon. So Freddie was on his way to the emergency clinic, but by the time you got there, he's already gone. He passed away during the trip to the clinic. And that is very standard for a case of firefly of toxicity. Typically within 15 minutes to 2 hours, we will see clinical signs, and rarely will they live much longer than that. At this point, none have ever lived long enough to make it to a clinic for treatment. Freddie was submitted for necropsy, and the necropsy was pretty unremarkable. And just in case people aren't familiar with the term, a necropsy is an autopsy for something that is not human. But his stomach contents were submitted, and they were able to identify Photinus body parts within the stomach. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody ever thought about the fact that every 5-year-old child in America could catch a firefly. So there had to be some reason that these things were still in existence, because if they had no defense mechanism, they should have been extinct by now from every predator, because they would have been the easiest dinner anybody could possibly have. So we did develop a theoretical treatment. Prevention is the best cure. Please don't feed fireflies to any species of animal. If they did eat a firefly, we would recommend gastric lavage and activated charcoal. Gastric lavage is actually quite easy in a dragon. Monitor for cardiac and appropriate treatment as needed for arrhythmias, thermoregulation, and theoretically, we might consider using fab fragments, although they have never been tested with a lucibuffagan before. I don't think anyone is going, if you consider your average 70-kilogram human, I don't think anybody could choke down that many fireflies to have to deal with a poisoning from a human standpoint there. And of all the 5-year-old children in America who are catching fireflies, they just put them in jars for their parents to release after they go to bed. And so eating fireflies has not been a real problem from the human side of medicine there. It is something that more than one species of animal has been killed by fireflies. The white tree frog, on that particular case, the owners did tell us that it was really cool. They put the fireflies in, the frog ate them, and they could still see the fireflies glowing from within the frog. They turned the lights out, and when they came back in the morning, of course, the frog was dead at that point in time. Rock lizards and chameleons have also been poisoned by fireflies, and we assume other reptiles and amphibians would potentially be poisoned as well should they eat them on that. The history on this is usually it's by accident we find out things have the potential for toxicity. And then when you find out the mechanism, it's a fun deep dive into how could this even happen? And it brings up the question of how do fireflies make their light? And then as we learn, we can prevent things and warn people not to feed the things they're not supposed to eat on that, and just to eat approved foods. So if anybody is looking to get a pet, a bearded dragon is an excellent choice if you're looking for a reptile. And there are other bugs that sequester cardinalides. So we are certainly wanting to avoid, again, another reason to avoid all the wild caught insects. Our monarch butterflies are certainly the most common and the most well-known of all of those. That's why they lay their eggs on milkweed, so that the caterpillars will be sequestering the milkweed toxins. And as the butterfly matures, if a bird eats them, well, they are also going to immediately pretty much regurgitate, and the bird's going to go, no, I'm not going to eat those. There are also butterflies who will mimic the monarch's coloring, so the birds will think they are also monarchs and not eat them, even though they would normally just be a tasty little snack. Lygid bugs, which are true bugs, also will sequester cardinalize. The eggs are usually laid on milkweed plants for those, as well as milkweed bugs as on top of it. And who knows what other bugs are out there waiting to be found that are sequestering toxins that we did not know about.